Hey!
Good morning, Mr. White.
Good morning, Mrs. Angel. How are you? It's good to see you with a drink in your hand.
Quite evidently, our loyal listeners will know that we are obviously recording on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just a Friday or Saturday or Sunday, because if I've got a drink in my hand, that's the only time I drink nowadays. So it is wonderful to be here at the end of a working week for us to be recording. It doesn't matter what time of the week you are listening in. It's always a good time to be a teacher. Am I right, Mr. White?
It's a very good time to be a teacher on a Friday evening, I'll tell you that much.
The best time ever to be a teacher. I want to say a big thank you straight off the bat to Video Pro, who are our loyal sponsors right from the start, who care about teachers and are making us sound amazing. But we did get a little bit of feedback, did we not, Mr. White, about one of us not sounding as
not
amazing. Yeah, well, we're a feedback strong organization and teaching is all about feedback. I don't know. Did we get some feedback?
That's how we grow. Yes, apparently I wasn't close enough to the microphone, and someone suggested that maybe that's something that I could do. So I have accepted that feedback, implemented that feedback, and I'm modeling what I'd like my students to do. And now I have that microphone right up into my mouth. Right
in your grill. That's good. I do feel that maybe Steve the Pirate is still stuck on maybe season 1, episode 10, when you still had the muffler in your equipment.
Good times. Good times. Yes, I still had the transport wrapping material in between the microphone and the, what do you call it, the grill or whatever it is.
Yeah.
On top of it.
Know.
Yes, my technical expertise.
It was a bit like this, and then we couldn't really hear you. It didn't matter how much we had you cranked up. It was like, what is going on here? I just sound like I'm the loudest person on earth, and you're just whispering. Yeah.
And then we're trying to work out the problem, and the producer was on, and I sort of said, "Oh, what's this on my microphone?" and pulled off this 1-inch thick slab of foam that might have had something to do with it. It was a natural buffer. But
literally
look,
a natural buffer.
I'm loud and proud now. At least I hope so.
It's great to hear you, Mr. White, and I hope that. And thank you, Steve the Pirate, for the feedback, because we appreciate the feedback, and we will grow and improve. And most definitely, our producer was giving Mr. White a lot of feedback during that time.
Yes, and Steve the Pirate, we hope you are still there.
It's horrible. So horrible.
It's not good.
All right. So I don't want to toot our own horn, but toot toot.
Oh, that sounds like you are doing it. Let's do it.
Yes, toot toot. So tell us about Malaysia. What does Malaysia think about us? And I want to say hello to all of our friends in Malaysian schools. It is so amazing to have you as part of this podcast, listening in. And maybe you're not just part of the schools, because it's not necessarily education that we are screaming up the podcast charts.
Roaring up the charts. Yeah.
Roaring up the charts. Tell us about it, Mr. White.
Well, it wasn't that long ago. I think we were 65. 64, I think. We made the top 65 in educational podcasts in Malaysia. And we find ourselves now in a new category of self-improvement, which I believe to be a broader category.
Yes,
we are screaming up the charts at number 24. We're in the top 25, Shaz. How
what?
Was
that? Stop it.
Go Malaysia.
Stop it. And we're trying to work out what this is about. And so maybe now, because we've been talking about my self-improvement, maybe now this is because of Coffeegate that's led into the competition that Jonathan has dragged me into kicking and screaming. You didn't even say how slim I'm looking, Mr. White, how positively, glowingly healthy. Obviously, it's like tune in on not just the TikTok. Get on YouTube. Don't be listening to this just through your ears. You need to be seeing the transformation of self-improvement that is happening to me as this show is progressing.
It is quite amazing. You look $1 million and fantastic. I'm really, really hoping that you get to maintain your office, although there is a part of me that is really looking forward to ringing up your school on the day that you're on the office manager's desk, and I can just prank you all day. I can't.
Perfect.
I can't
That'll be great. And as well as things are going for me, things are going very well for Jonathan.
Yes.
Really, really, really well for Jonathan. He is deeply committed to this cause, and his body is responding amazingly. So he is in the lead right now, and I'm really happy for him. I'm delighted for you, Jonathan. Jonathan?
There's no bitterness or sarcasm in that comment at all.
No, I am totally just, I'm delighted for you. And, you know, it's a 9-week term for us. Our last weigh in, I should know the date. I don't know the date off by heart. I'll let you know next time we talk what the date is. And yeah, he's doing well. I'm doing well. He's doing amazingly. I'm happy with my progress, but it's falling short of Jonathan's progress. But everybody wins. I feel like everyone in the school wins when our office manager is thriving, and the principal is thriving, and Jonathan on the front desk is full of life and like just svelte. He is just
svelte. Great. No, that's what you want to do. It's about,
so happy for him.
But competition is important too. And we want
delighted for you, Jonathan.
Now, look, some people lose weights in reverse order of exponential. So they might drop a lot early, and then it takes them a while to get to that next sort of goal.
You hear that, Jonathan?
Yeah.
You listening?
Yeah, Shaz is coming for you.
Yeah. In fact, I really came for him on Administrators Day. It was wonderful. We celebrated Administrators Day like you wouldn't believe. And,
Yes.
well, actually, probably you would believe, because there was... I didn't, but it was Friday, so it was just after weigh-in, so it was okay. But there was a massive cake that was brought in, but they had individualized cookies. So I'm not an administrator. I get celebrated on Principal's Day, not Administrator's Day. But Jonathan and Yvonne got celebrated on Administrator Day. So there was cakes for them. There was cookies, personalized cookies for them. We brought in lunch for them. They were there was a lot of calories in our celebration of our administrators team.
That's quite clever. You can't refuse a personalised cupcake, can you?
You can't. And it's no shock that I won the next week. I was solidly the winner in the following week after that. But anyway, Principal's Day is not until, I think maybe it's already passed. Anyway, it's not in this 9-week period, so he can't get me back.
Fair enough.
Yes.
But look, anyway, it's a great cause. It's a great thing that you're doing, and a little bit of competition on the way to help, put the fire underneath you and spur you on to great things is a good thing. So
never hurt anyone. Exactly. My liver is thriving. My skin is thriving. I'm feeling less angry than the last time we talked, because I was a little. I wasn't embracing this for what it was, and I was feeling like I was missing out on things. But you get a couple more weeks in, and actually I'm not missing any of the things that I used to be craving. So that's good. I'm happy to enjoy a drink on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday afternoon. So I've got some I've got some specifics about that. So what I know, the weekend starts on Friday, yes. But if it starts at 6:00 on a Friday, it ends at 6:00 on a Sunday.
Disagree.
I know, but I've received a lot of feedback from this, and particularly from my sister, who's a personal trainer, and she didn't like our loose rules around what is the weekend. So I have received a lot of feedback, and thanks, Joe, for clearing that up really clearly for me.
So I think that's problematic, because the weekend is more than just a 40-hour gap. The weekend's a state of mind. And so the state of mind kicks in. You got to the last period on Friday. The state of mind kicks in once you recognise the bell is about to go. Or if you've got a spare in the last period. then really the weekend starts a little bit before.
Well, but it doesn't literally start a little bit before. So just in case, for all of the teachers listening in there, it's not okay to crack your first drink at 2:00 on a Friday just because you've got a spare and you're sitting in the staff room.
I didn't
it's
say
not.
That. I didn't say that. Although kudos to you if that's the way you roll. I didn't say that. What I said was the weekends are a state of mind.
It is a state of mind. Okay.
And I think that they begin as soon as you realise on a Friday that job done, time for the weekend. And that might happen at 2, it might happen at 3, you might have some stuff to do afterwards, it might be 4, it might be 5. Okay. But whenever it kicks in, that's it. But I maintain that it does not end until Sunday around about 7, I don't know. If you have a Sunday session, you got to be home by 7, I reckon.
Okay. All right.
Sunday sessions are fine, but you got to be home by, say, 8. Home by double digits. Home before double digits.
It's a loose 7, which apparently 7. Is a 10. Now we're talking double digits 10. Joe, if you can just listen in, I'm sure I'm going to get feedback and I'll pass it on to Whitey. And it's all about your own state of mind. So happy for those of you who are joining me on this journey, and happy for those of you who are not, because I've been there as well, and yes, absolutely. It's whatever you need at the time and when you need it. And so, yes.
Yeah, good stuff.
So
good stuff. Love it. Let's spiral upward, shall we?
Do it. Let's do it.
What's that question? All right. So this week's question. Actually, there are a couple of questions here.
Okay.
What was your mindset when you became a teacher? What is it now, and how has it changed, and why? There's a fair bit to process there. So what was your mindset when you became a teacher? What is it now? And how has it changed? And why do you think that is?
That's a brilliant question. And for me, 20 plus year career so far, there has been a massive mindset shift, which has been great and required, but it has been profound. So most definitely my mindset when I came into education was all about changing. It was about changing lives. So, and it's still about changing lives, but I felt like I was on my own with the changing lives. It was all up to me. And I was there in front of those students, and it was like they didn't have parents or a support network beyond that. And probably at that stage, it was because I felt it had to be all on me, because calling parents was a really scary thing in my first couple of years of being a teacher. Mm. And so therefore, if I didn't want to connect with the parents, then it was all about me and about my requirement to be able to change lives and to save those students and to save them through education. And my massive mind shift now has been that it takes a village to raise a child, and it most certainly takes a village to educate a child. So nowadays, I love the parent contact. So my job is to connect with the parents, because it takes all of us to help this child and to help them to navigate. It absolutely requires the parent and myself and the teacher to be on the same page, to be able to help to shepherd that child and to listen to the child about what they need and what their needs and wants are as well. Yes. So my massive mindset change is that probably I used to think that I was Michelle Pfeiffer in Dangerous Minds, and I was changing the lives myself, and I had dun 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 always just as a soundtrack in the back of my head. And nowadays it's about the pulling the village in and making sure that child knows that they're not on their own and that we're all in this together, and we're gonna push them forward regardless of what's happening in their life.
Love it.
Yes.
Really,
what about you?
Really good.
So I'm gonna let me put this to you. What was your mindset? So how many years have you been a teacher now?
2009. Was that 14, 15 years?
14, 15 years. Excellent. So what was your mindset when you became a teacher? What is it now? How has it changed, and why?
Yes. Okay. So this when I started out, I was very focused on what I was doing, and I wanted everything to be perfect. I wanted to create, and at that stage, people were using PowerPoints pretty regularly. It's 2009, and I wanted every PowerPoint to be perfect, everything perfectly worded, everything clear, every geography or English, doesn't matter. If I was doing geography, I wanted the maps to be perfect with all bolts elements. If I was teaching English, I wanted no spelling errors, obviously, that sort of thing. And I was so focused on what I was doing that I realized that I wasn't really focused on what the students were doing.
Yeah.
And so over time, I realized that I was focusing too much on me and what I was doing and not enough on the students. And it's funny because having shifted my attention and my mindset to, okay, well, what is the student doing? It's now reflecting back on what I'm doing. So it's almost like I've come full circle. We're doing quality teaching rounds at the moment, where we have colleagues coming to sit in on your class and give you some feedback based on a series of criteria. And it's all based on what the teacher is doing. And it was really interesting for me because I thought, okay, but it's doing it in a way that is cognizant of the effect you're having on the student, rather than me trying to create something that demonstrated, my ability in this area, or this is what you need to know. It's more about, okay, you focus on what you're doing, but it's more important what the students are doing. But you start that. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, it does.
So it started off being, I was so worried about getting things wrong that I was so focused on the detail of what I was doing. After a while, I realized, hang on, no, it's about what the students are doing. And that's when I started loosening up. And
you've got to be responsive to that, as opposed to you can have the perfect lesson, but that doesn't mean they're going to learn it or they understand it.
Yes.
So it's not about plowing through that. It's about actually checking for understanding. What do you actually know from this? And then where do I have to go because of it?
Yes. And the amount of hours I put in, hard hours, like really, obviously, all young teachers do that. Early career teachers do that. But it took me a while to realize, okay, I can loosen up a bit here. And as long as I achieve the goals, and this is where I stepped back and started looking at assessment and what we want the students to learn and work backwards, I've actually got a bit more time. And if someone says something that is interesting, okay, I might have a perfectly planned lesson, but that's really interesting. The class is into it. This could be educational. Let's go there. Yeah. That sounds really cool. And we can always return to something else if it's important later. So I think the shift away from doing what I'm doing to thinking about what the student is doing and the way the student is perceiving it as being more important. So that's a long-winded way of explaining what I think has changed in the way I think.
Your mindset change has been. Yeah, I love it. It's from a teacher-centered to a student-centered approach, which is great.
Yeah.
And I think that's also a control, like the same thing as me. It's a control thing. I wanted to be able to do it all because I can control me. I can't control the outsides, but actually you've got to be able to engage with the outside. You've got to engage with the student to see what the deal is and what do they know and not know, and what they interested in or not interested in, and where can we take that?
Yes. And once you step back from that idea of it being perfect, and you can just roll with the punches and rely on your own talents, rely on your ability to talk to people and your knowledge of the subject or whatever.
Yeah.
It makes it
which is hard
too.
Hard in the first couple of years, because you don't have as much trust in yourself, and you don't have enough of those concrete moments when you can go, I can trust myself because I was able to navigate whatever the students threw at me during that time. So it's a confidence thing as well.
Yep.
Beautiful. Excellent. So interested to hear our listeners, what are their reflections of so no matter the profession that you're in, what was your mindset when you became, when you started in your profession? And so particularly teachers, what was your mindset when you started as a teacher, and what has changed now? And be proud of that. Like, that's an evolution. That's growth. And if you're working with any people younger than you or earlier in the career than you, then share that knowledge so that you can help them to speed up that learning spike that happens at the start of a career. Most definitely.
Yep. All these spelling upwards questions have been great, but I particularly do like this one, having discussed it now. I really like it.
Yeah, love
Good
it.
thing to think about. Yes.
All right. So I've just picked up the wrong piece of paper because that's what happens when you don't drink much anymore. All right. So I reckon it's time for Whitey's Weekly Wisecracks, just so that you can entertain me, frankly.
All
so
right, let's do it.
Get it ready. All right.
Whitey's Weekly Wisecracks. What do you got, Mr. White?
Go for it. What do you got?
All right. Okay. Picture this year 8 class geography. We are studying populations and different countries around the world and their populations. And we're doing a country profile on a range of different countries. And one of those countries was Switzerland. We had to talk about, let's have a look at the population profile and what are the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. And they had to do Switzerland's, one from each continent they had to do. And I chose them. One of them, the European one, was Switzerland. And one of the students says, Mr. White, I can't really find something good about Switzerland and their population and about Switzerland. I said, well, their flag is a big plus.
Oh. Well, that's good. That's good.
It's good.
Yeah.
I like it. Very few students got it, despite the fact they were looking at Switzerland with their flag. Anyway,
that's such a geography teacher.
I know.
Shout out
to all geog teachers out there.
Yeah,
I see you.
That's good. And I'm assuming you're okay with anybody using your content. I feel like that's the first bit of content that anybody could use. But
hang on, there's nothing new under the sun. I rip everything off. I don't think I've ever come up with anything original in my life.
That's good.
Feel free. That's yours.
Perfect.
Geography teachers out there, use it.
Yep. And we'd love to hear about you reusing that joke.
Just if you're going to use my quotes, don't expect a big laugh from the students, but just have a chuckle yourself. And
as he always says,
you do find out. Sorry, what do I say?
You always say it's actually not about them in that moment. It's about you and your entertainment at that stage.
It is. It's all about you. And look, if anyone comes along for the ride with you, then you know who's getting an A+. It's great.
He has also.
They laughed at your gag. A+.
He has also always stood by that. He's never backed away from the fact that if those kids are laughing, but then sometimes it is quite high brow humor, which means that they do understand the extra bits and pieces.
And this is why I should put on every rubric I write sense of humor.
Yeah,
the ability to appreciate Mr. White's humor.
Run that one by your principal. All right.
I will.
or your national education body. I'm not sure. Before you whack that on the rubric, I'm yes. Anyway, it's time for a teaching tale, I think.
All right. Let's do it.
All right.
Teaching tales. Dun, dun, dun.
All right. I'm not going to tell secrets here. I am going to tell a secret. I'm not going to tell you who told me the secret, but it was one of our previous inspiring stories. So has shared this story. So even like the amazing people that we have interviewed and what they've done in their careers, and it's not all smooth sailing is what you need to take from this. So picture this. You are a primary school teacher, so you have got a group of grade 2 students, and they are about 7 or 8 years old. And you have made the decision that you are going to take them on an excursion. You're going to take a group of 25 students on an excursion with the appropriate staffing ratios, which is 1 teacher and 2 teacher aides for 25 grade 2 students. Mm-hmm. So you head out to the museum, you catch a train, you put your 25 students on the train, you go to the museum, you have a reasonably good day, but you do have that one student who just is not following instructions. But it's okay because you've managed your way through the day because you are great. You're doing a great job. You get those kids back on the train. They've had a great day at the museum. Lots to talk about when you get back. You're on the train. Remembering these kids are 7 or 8 years old. They're all on the train. And then the student who has been causing you difficulties all day is standing right near the door. And then just as the doors closing, please stand clear.
Oh, no.
The student is looking directly in your eyes and he steps backwards out of the train, back onto the platform and gives you a deep eye contact and a little wave.
Oh.
Just please stand clear.
Oh, with eye contact.
Deep eye contact.
That's cold. That's
cold. It doesn't matter how cold it is because the reality is you have a 7-year-old unaccompanied on that train platform and you have 24 students and 3 adults heading away from that student in that moment.
Is it wrong that I want to know what train line this was on?
I'm not telling you. No, I'm not telling you.
Wow.
So obviously our teacher, well, what do? You freak out, Mr. White. That's what you do. You absolutely lose it for the 2 minutes it takes you to get to the next station.
Yes.
And then you are getting off the station at that next station and you are, so it turns out they went straight to the where you buy your tickets at that station and said, this is what's happened. You need to call the previous station and you need to find this kid. He's dressed like this. He's wearing this uniform. Somebody needs to capture him immediately so that I can be back there. And then that they immediately were able to find that student because it was only 3 to 4 minutes based off the next station and the quick thinking of that amazing educator.
Well done.
And then within 15 minutes, they were reunited together, which I can only imagine what that reuniting looked like. There would be like the emotions.
And it feels so good.
Does it though? The joy, the relief, the fury about seeing this kid, and then
grade 2. Wow,
grade 2, 7.
Oh, that's some serious moxie for a grade 2, isn't it? I'm a senior school teacher. I don't know, but that seems like a bit. No, is that normal for a grade 2 teacher to experience that sort of thing?
What's normal, Mr. White?
Yeah,
what's normal?
Yeah, good point.
Exactly. So, I always say, so once again, as a secondary trained educator, I want to just spend a moment. I want to salute my primary school, elementary school counterparts, and then even more so out those people who are doing God's work in early childcare. Oh my goodness. You are phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Amazing. I don't know. I just can't even fathom what they go through on a day-to-day basis. Weird things happen to young kids. I'm finding out with a 6-year-old, 3-year-old, and soon to be 2-year-old. But I don't know, like early things happen, like they always have blood noses. Their teeth are falling out. They're getting off at train stations waving as they do it. It's I don't know how early childhood teachers and primary school teachers do it, but I agree with your sentiments. Shout out to you all. We see you're doing a hell of a job.
Absolutely.
A job.
Yeah.
And I don't think I could do that. In fact, I know.
Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. All right, let's switch gears and we are going to hear from one of our beautiful teachers who have sent in a magical moment.
Beautiful.
So I have 7 button clicks to click here, 3 whiskeys deep. So I was rounding down, Mr. White. So let's just see. Let's see how I go.
Right.
Let's do it. Bye.
Here we go.
Hi, I'm here to share a magic moment about teaching with you. So I had a student who I worked with when that student was in year 9. I was their year level coordinator. And then by the time they reached year 12, I was the deputy head of Year 12. So I had quite a lot to do with this student. I was their maths teacher. I was their deputy head of Year 12. We were involved in other extracurricular things at the school, in particular with our dance program at our school. And throughout that student's journey, both in Year 9 and Year 12, we had a number of conversations regarding things like navigating friendships, mental health concerns of friends, workload, time management, career path, family, lots of things that as a teacher, I guess it's a privilege to have that avenue of, information and, for having students who are willing to treat you as that confidant and trusted person in their lives. Anyway, this particular student, at the end of her Year 12, she wrote a letter to me, which was a thank you and outlined the things that she was grateful for, I suppose, and in the end, the impact that our interactions over all those years had on her life. So the magic moment for me was realising that we actually can have a really profound impact on the lives of the young people that we work with, and that it's not always about the content that we teach. And allowing those conversations to happen, sometimes even in the classroom, is probably more valuable in that moment than the content that you had planned for, that particular pocket of time. And what she said in particular that really stuck with me was that in seeing me interact with other female staff around me that I worked with, in particular in the dance program, she was really inspired by the way we interacted and the way we lifted each other up and respected each other and worked as a team and celebrated each other's successes and happiness with great delight. And also that she had seen me also have moments of vulnerability, whether that be for supporting a student through something difficult or experiencing a loss for a dance team and feeling the disappointment of that. And the other thing she commented on was that it had taught her that you can be both strong and sensitive at the same time, and that was something she hadn't realised. And she was really inspired to, I guess, aspire to find that inner strength, yet not lose her sensitivity to the things happening around her. And that was a really humbling experience for me to read that letter and then have a conversation with her about it. A really magic moment.
Oh my goodness.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful. That's my amazing friend Anne's. She's brilliant. What a great story that is.
There's so much to unpack there.
There is.
That's a perfect example of how important. So the content that we teach is so important, and the way we teach it is so important. But the way we interact with kids and the way we interact with each other as educators is so important. They are watching, and they have this. They all have their own experience at home, regardless. So they just do, and it's different for every one of them, and the way that their parents interact, or their parent interacts, and then their wider family interacts, or their friendship group of their parents interacts. So they're watching that constantly and trying to work out their way of working in this world. And us as educators, they're spending so much time with us, and they're watching us. They are watching and learning from us as to how we interact with people, our superiors, and how they're interacting with each other, and how they're interacting with them, and how they're interacting with how we're interacting with other students. They're watching, and it's so profound what they're seeing and how it's shaping what they will think and how they will act in the future.
Yeah. I love the message also that you don't have to be one thing. I mean, the whole idea is that you can be strong and sensitive at the same time. And it's about knowing and learning which approach will work or will have the best outcome. That takes a lot of learning. But the first step towards that is realizing that you do have gears and you do have choices in the way you respond to a situation, and you don't have to simply be the initial response that you have. You
that
can
you
step
feel.
back and think. Yeah, that's right. That you feel.
Mm-hmm.
You can modify that, and you can respond in a way that you have mental control over, rather than simply being a reactive.
Responsive to however you're feeling in that moment.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. That's a very
and
important
as the adults in the room with a group of, so in secondary school kids, so where I'm so I've worked in a number of schools that are prep to 12, but my training has been with pubescent kids. So they're so responsive to the emotion that they're feeling in that moment. So I feel this, and so my reaction is going to be this. And it's so important for them to be able to see adults not just responding to the emotion that would be evoked in that particular situation, that showing them that we will take 5 deep breaths and we will take a moment to actually think about that, or actually say, I'm going to come back to you tomorrow. I don't need to tell you what's rolling through my head right now. I'm going to let me sit on that. So important. But then sometimes important for those kids to see that emotion. So it's not yes. it's so complex what we do. And it's got to be the right people who want to do this job and see it for what it is, which is an absolute profound experience to be able to have with kids and on their learning and on their learning journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not the kind of role where you're going to walk in perfect and have all the answers straight away. As we were talking about earlier with our mindset, you're going to learn as you go. And there are going to be times where your emotion does, override what in the cooler heads would have suggested would be the best way to go about it.
Oh, Whitey, I don't remember. I don't remember the student's name, and I'm embarrassed that I don't, because I never knew the student's name who had this experience with me. And if you're out there and you happen to be watching this podcast, because if you're watching this podcast and you're seeing me on it and I look anything like I did back in my first year of teaching, and you would be this student that I'm about to tell you about would be looking right now going, this person was the worst human being that I've ever come across. So the first and only time I decided that I tried out yelling. I tried out. I did not know this student. I was on playground duty. I was out on the far oval in my first year of teaching, and I didn't know the student. And they disappeared into the trees, and it was an out of bounds area. So in my disgraceful, no, I need to be more. I need to be more forgiving of myself. In my lack of experience, I was, this is black and white. That student shouldn't be in the out of bounds area. What could be going on right there? So I responded to my emotion, and my emotion was, there obviously is danger down there and high emotion. And for the first time ever in my teaching career, so I yelled. So I called that kid back, and bless him, he did come back. And then I just gave him a spray. I yelled, and I'm sure there was probably spit coming out of my mouth. It would have been an ugly yell. And my voice, I know that my voice was cracking, and it was horrible. Absolutely horrible. It was horrible for me. It was horrible for him.
Yeah.
And what happened in that moment was he lost all respect for me. For a moment, I lost all respect for myself. And I knew that right now he has no respect for me. He's not going to follow my instructions right now, because I have allowed the emotion in my body to just take control right now. And so the student didn't follow my instruction. He came back to me, and then I screamed at him, and then he basically went and didn't follow my instruction at all. And I've never yelled since then. So I realized in that moment that was totally ineffective, absolutely fundamentally ineffective. Yelling at a student, losing it like them right then. I didn't know his name. He had no respect for me prior to me losing it. So I have chosen to show emotion to students once I have a relationship with them, most certainly. And that's a choice. But as the adult in the room or outside just there in that moment, I was the adult, that student was a child, and I just allowed emotion to just to be what I led with. And I had to have that learning to never do that ever again, because that was totally ineffective, the wrong thing to do.
Good lesson. But I don't know if you made comment that you think that he hates you or doesn't respect you now. I don't know. You don't know that.
I don't know that. No, I don't know that.
I understand your point. And I hear your point about being the adult in there, and I know this is what you're thinking. But I don't want you projecting that on you, what you think he thinks or she thinks, the student thinks.
Yep.
But definitely, look, it's a learning experience, and yelling doesn't work.
Yelling doesn't work. Yelling doesn't work, and like, it's a big emotion that leads to yelling. And there's teachers out there, I'm sure. So we've all yelled before. But I don't know that there'd be many teachers that would say, and so when I yell, that is the most of that. Everything that I want to happen happens in that moment, and then everything after that I want to happen happens in that moment. So it's something to think about. That is it the most effective way? And I loved what is it? Anne's has said. Anne's has said in there about getting that feedback from a kid about the fact that they were watching what she was doing, and how profound that was for that student. So I'm going to go into a teaching tip here, and it's not the teaching tip that we talked about that we would go over today. But there's a thing that I used to do when back a million years ago when I was a year coordinator. So I don't know where I learned it, because all of our teaching tips, we haven't come up with them ourselves, like we've said before, where we've learnt them from other people, and then this is a regifting of a teaching tip that we have learnt from somebody else, and we know that it has been really effective.
Right.
So as a year coordinator, when I always when I had a group of grade 12s leave, I would in their last week, I would create a big massive envelope for every single student in the school and all of the teachers in the school. And then I would give them time throughout their last week for them to reflect on the impact that the other students in their grade have had on them, and what it was that they've done that has helped them to think about something differently.
Love it.
Or confirm something. And then also all of the teachers, and what have they done. So throughout the week, the last week of their time there, they're able to be given time to think and reflect and put things in people's envelopes. And then as they graduate, they're given all of the things that they're given to graduate with, and also all of these notes that teachers have written to them and their fellow students have written to them about what have I learnt from you, and what have I appreciated about you or liked about you.
Good.
It's so it's been a beautiful moment, and I've there's been a couple of years where I've been kind of removed from that a little bit, but at my school, at Mastery Schools Australia, we're about to have our first lot of grade 12 students will graduate from us at the end of this year. Yes. And what Anne's has just said with the note that this student has written to them and how profound that has been for her as a teacher, I'm bringing that back in. So the grade 10s will have, and the teachers will have an opportunity to write, teachers and assistant teachers and support workers, and myself, I will have an opportunity to write how my life has changed because of that student being in my life.
I love it. I absolutely love it. It's a fantastic thing to celebrate, and giving voice to that, that quiet reflection that they might have in their own mind. That's one thing, but to actually express that to the person,
to name it,
fame, as you like to say, that's brilliant. One of my teachers I'm very, very fortunate to work with, who's an inspiration to me. She's a head of year level, and every week she has a year level meeting, and she keeps a gratitude box outside her office, and it's just a box with a pad and a pen, and you can write down whatever you want that you're thankful for. And it could be related to someone at the school, but it could be just in general. I'm thankful for, crisp autumn mornings and beautiful sunshine. It could be anything that makes you feel good. Usually it is, Susie, lent me a pen for the test when I forgot it. Usually it's that sort of stuff. And then, stupid me walks past and I'm thankful for some mark that some footballer took on the weekend, or the fact that Geelong won, or something like that. But even not being part of it, because I'm not in that year level, but even just walking past that box, it makes me think about, that's cool. What would I write down? And that's brilliant. That sort of stuff is amazing. And to be able to share it and give platform for that is gold. Absolutely. Gold.
Yeah, it is.
Love it.
That reflection is super, super, super important.
Yep.
So thank you, Anne, for sharing that beautiful story. And yes, and your magical moment is going to make my school a better place at the end of this year. So thank you
Thank you for sharing. Brilliant.
What a legend. So on that, have we received any reviews lately regarding our podcast?
We do have reviews.
Talk me through it.
We've got this nice one. This is after the Eddie Woo casts.
Wonderful.
The heading is "Woo the Legend," and I completely agree. Just listen to Eddie Woo interview. He is a legend, and his magical moment brought me to tears. Love this podcast. Heart emoji. There it is. Thanks, Helen. Fantastic. Absolutely. How good was it? Was Eddie Woo? It was amazing. All my maths department are just saying, "Oh, you got to talk to her. It's amazing. It's so amazing," and it's just.
And fantastic. How nice for us to just be able to give him a bit of a platform, a voice. I know that he's just contacted me and said, "Well, thank you, Shaz and Whitey, so much for I love talking about math, and I never get a chance to talk about it on any other platform. And it's just what a privilege for this little old podcast here, just to be able to give Eddie Woo a voice.
It's nice to be able to throw a bone every now and then. And honestly, look, he's got a fantastic message. Great, and it's nice to be able to amplify that voice, because he has some great things to say.
It is.
But seriously, it was great fun. And I got a text from my brother today, and he started listening to the WooTube videos, and he sent me this one about, I can't remember what it was about, but it was Eddie up there teaching and doing his thing, and Mike goes, "This is great. This is going to cost me the rest of the night." So he's going to sit there all night learning maths. Brilliant. So good. But yes, you're right, Shaz. It is nice to give a fledgling young important voice a bit of a leg up where we can.
An Australian of the Year, just give him a platform to just be able to share his story.
Look, our ratings in Malaysia are things to aspire to. Eddie, hang in there, we'll get there.
Absolutely. And hello once again to our friends in Malaysia, and teachers and non-teachers. It's so wonderful to have you on board.
Absolutely.
On the show.
Yes.
All right, Mr. White, we have jibber-jabbered our way through far too long. So anyone who is still with us at this stage of the podcast,
thank you.
You are a true fan of the show.
You are.
So I want to finish off with talking about amplifying, because our good friend Cameron from Video Pro was talking about that his technology is all about amplifying the message, and they have, as always, they are amplifying our messages here about how amazing teachers are and the difference that they're making in students' lives all around the world. All 80 million of you are absolute legends, and thank you for choosing teaching as a profession, and keep it up. At this time of the term in Australia, what's happening for you, Mr. White?
It's tough, approaching the end of term 2 is tough. Exams and reports, and the weather in Melbourne's not brilliant. And look, I'm not going to beat around the bush. This is probably the toughest time of the year to be a teacher, but get around each other, give each other a bit of a pep, a pump up. Get ChatGPT
ask your spiraling upwards questions.
Yes, absolutely. Spiraling upward questions. Don't forget, ask ChatGPT to write your reports for you. use the technology. It's there.
That's
Why
right.
not? Absolutely.
You heard it here first.
That should have been a teaching tip. We should have led with that.
Just use ChatGPT. The kids are using it, so why aren't you? That's right.
Oh
gosh.
If everyone's doing it.
No, I'm backing away from this one. I'm going to finish on that note, Mr. White.
All right. Good idea. Thank you, Mrs. Angel. You look great. The competition's going really well. Keep it up.
Thank you
Very
so much. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful week. Keep it going. And we'll see you next week.
Love you guys.
See you, Mr. White.
Thank you. See you, Mrs. Angel.